What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to my speed review of the new Townsfolk Tussle expansions. This is the time to get either the new and improved, so just slightly, core edition, or the expansion if you already have that. I'm going to tell you if it's worth your while, and it is on Kickstarter, but just for a few more days. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, of course, there's a pledge manager, stuff like that, but this is literally like a last 48-hour warning. If you're watching this at the time that I posted this, if not, maybe you should be subscribed so you don't miss stuff like this, but this is kind of a last call for this. So there is it linked down in the description below. If any of this seems interesting to you, you want more information, that's the place to go. Again, that's down in the description below. It'll take you right to the Kickstarter for this. Now, I've already done a review of Townsfolk Tussle. I'll link that down below as well. It's also on their Kickstarter page, so you can see what I had to say about the core experience. I'm not going to reiterate a lot of that, just kind of a quick synopsis of how I feel about it with this expansion, and then talking, or these expansions, it's kind of a mix between both. And of course, this is a prototype. I don't have the miniatures, stuff like that, so keep that all in mind. All right, so I'm going to be point blank here. If you have Townsfolk Tussle and you love it, you'll love this expansion. It's a no-brainer. It makes it better. It very much improves things. If you have not played Townsfolk Tussle, this is the version to get. So right there you go. Now there are pros and cons. We'll get into those right now. Speaking of which, deployables. So one of the new things you get are these little deployables. You can kind of get these via some various items that you can get. There's a lot of new items. This is just a smattering of it here. And what you were able to do is actually place this on the actual board and then use that, interact with it. Often most people can interact with it. It just depends on the situations of what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But very cool, a nice little addition there. I very much enjoyed getting items that you could deploy or playing with somebody who did and benefiting from that. It's just a lot of fun to do that. I think it's a great addition, very smart thing to do, and very unique in the fact that obviously when you're placing stuff on the board, it changes the board. So the board is changing as you're playing, and that's actually something that happens quite a bit. That actually leads me to a slight negative. You see, a lot of the new bosses, and maybe it's just in general, I haven't played this in a while since I first received it, and then of course the prototype as well, and it's a very fun game. I've always enjoyed my time with it. However, I did feel that at least with these new bosses, some of them can be a little fiddly. I think it's a mix between a few things. Some of it is just their mechanics. For instance, you have either like belief tokens, if you're fighting this guy here, or if you're fighting another one, you might have a whole bunch of water tokens. You end up placing those a lot, and often you're placing 4 or 5 of them at a time. Also on your character, sometimes you'll have these like belief tokens, stuff like that. Or you'll have these deployables that you're moving in and out. Or you're messing with your gear and you're unequipping it or re-equipping it, or doing that kind of stuff. You end up doing a little bit of fiddliness when it comes to that. Everybody has a different threshold to that. I felt like this didn't hit my threshold. I still enjoyed myself. However, it definitely upped it a little bit from what I remember, at least from the core box of bosses. This one felt, and again, it's because of stuff like deployables, because you're adding stuff on top of it that added on top stuff. And this is the case with most expansions. When you add something on top, it's literally on top. So it's all of the base game plus this extra stuff now. So if you bought this because you want it super duper streamlined, Townsfolk Tussle is a great streamlined game already, but this does add a little bit of layer on top of it, right? That little bit of icing. If you just liked your cake, you might want to keep that in mind. Now, I said this improves things, and it definitely does. In my original review, I talked about the items. They're fun. These are great. This just makes it all better. These are fantastic. You can build a lot of different builds around them. They're really, really good items. They all fit into the lore. They're unique and funny, and you're laughing at them or you're not, or they're cool or different. I mean, just It's really cool. It's really cool. Like I said, you can get them from Deployables. You can get these like set items. They hinted at it here. And in fact, I think one of my asks in the original review was I would like more of that. Well, they did that. Really, really good, and just really enjoyed that. Now that leads right into these roll cards. These roll cards, fantastic. Now, there was a concern of mine that this would make the game a little bit too easy because these are all very good cards. They're all fantastic. And one of the things I thought was perfect for this is you get these based off the items you're getting. So you're already going for a build. This just enhances it. This is the icing on the cake, as it were, when it comes to set items. If you're wanting to play a certain style, you're going to end up getting the cards that allow you to get a roll that it definitely enhances your style and allows you to do all sorts of stuff. Now, this stuff that it does is very unique, and some of them are really good, like giving you a second chance and stuff like that. There's quite a few here too, which is nice. They are all positive though, so they just give you more opportunities typically to damage the ruffian. Now, I had concern that that might make it a little easy. Townsfolk Tussle is never easy. So like that was a moot point. I've now used this several times, never once had an issue, never felt like it was a cakewalk or anything like that. It's always, I mean, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get damaged, and so it's the ruffian, hopefully the ruffian more than you. And that's just pretty much always the case. That, and you'd have to build up to these, so it's like you're going to get them like super early on, which can help as well. All right, now the new bosses. Now I didn't flip it over here, the indoor, or the door knockers, sorry, and they're kind of trying to sell you these cubes. Each boss is so unique. Between patches, you guys have seen that, the one with the cat, kind of weird costume thing going on there, or just a lot of the other ones. For instance, the water tower lady, there's like, if you get her on the final fight, there's something pretty unique there, which I think is pretty cool. It's different thematically than I was anticipating. And really between the mechanics and between how they act and kind of how they deal with things, it's just a lot of fun there. We went against Tartar as the first match that I did with this, and one of the notes was he doesn't even really attack. Instead, he's using this bait thing and he's pulling and pushing and reeling and doing all this kind of stuff, and that's what he does, and then creates water and changes the face of the game that way. Again, very unique for a boss battler to have a boss that doesn't really attack you necessarily. It's not outright. So I really enjoyed the variety of the enemies that came in this. Ton of fun. Definitely add them together, play them through like that, and it just adds more variety, which in a roguelike like this is ideal. Now, sadly, what didn't happen was we didn't get a new look to this. I think that this art style, this kind of Cuphead-like art style, this kind of really old school art, would look fantastic in places other than green grass. So it would be really nice to see new variety coming up when it just comes to the visual backdrop of this. Even if it's just like a night mode to this, that would help. Even if it was just that. But something even more drastic. Like I can imagine fighting in like dank, dark caves and, like all sorts of places I think could really fit with this. And I think a lot of the expansions will. I think they're going to take it there. When you look at the big map, I think it's going to come there, but it's not there yet. For now, it's just kind of more the same. So you do get that kind of samey look to it. It doesn't necessarily look different. It plays a little bit different depending on what you're doing with deployables and stuff like that, but it doesn't look any different. It looks the exact same. And that's kind of a pro and a con, but for me, I'd like to see a little bit more variety, at least where we're at now when we're adding expansions. To me, that almost kind of comes with an expansion. Okay, there's a few caveats here. Of course, I mentioned this in the original one, but I wanted to kind of reiterate, player elimination still sucks. I don't like it. I really dislike dying and then feeling like I should just go home. Like you may as well not even be there. Just go ahead and leave. That's not necessarily fun. The battles don't take forever. So between like setup and even teardown, you can play a full fight and shopping thing in 2 hours easily. So it's not one of these all night things. You can do multiple rounds, stuff like that, and it's like you're knocked out forever. But it is that kind of thing where it's like you may as well go watch TV or something, or I guess chill and like chat with people or whatever. I definitely feel like getting adults around a table is already hard enough. having them to where they come in and then might die very soon, not ideal, my opinion. Now there's actually a role card that kind of solves that a little bit, but I don't really like player elimination, so I'll always kind of mention that. It's definitely not a pro for me. Additionally, I kind of mentioned this with fiddliness a little bit, but Townsfolk Tussle's always kind of played fast and loose with your items. They're always being stolen or taken or traded or tossed or buried or whatever, right? That you're constantly kind of going through items, and you can't be too attached to your items necessarily. But especially when you're going for a roll, I feel it's kind of important. And so this kind of makes it hurt a little bit more. And then additionally, it just keeps coming. Like, these new bosses do this all the time too. So you're going to constantly be moving around your equipment or losing it. And that can kind of suck. When it's also attached to like loss of stats, so you can lose stats as well. So you can make it to where, hey, you were a ranged guy. Well, guess what? You now have no ranged weapons and you can barely move, which means you're just never going to be attacking the ruffian because you can never even catch up to him. And that kind of stuff can happen. It can be a little frustrating. That's part of the experience. And with a roguelike, you kind of go through it, and sometimes you have a good run and sometimes you don't. But that's a little bit easier when you're playing a solo video game by yourself in a very fast-paced environment versus getting a group together on Saturday night and hoping for the best. So I always wish there was a way to gain back your items a little bit easier. There's like no trading at all, for instance, stuff like that pretty much. So I think there's some mechanics that could add to ease that, or at least optional ones. Now, of course, you can always house rule, but I don't review on house rules. Now, I've alluded to this several times, and I know I mentioned it here, but when it comes to boss battlers, if you don't want to dedicate your life to it, in other words, if you don't want something like Aeon Trespass Odyssey or, like Kingdom Death Monster, right? Even Oathsworn, right? When you have these big boss battlers, first of all, the box is like 3 times as much as this. So if you're like a frail old woman, good luck lifting it up. Or a weakling like me, even you kind of curse a little bit when you have to lift up these big boxes. But a lot of them are kind of lifetime games because they're so complex and so dense and meant to just be replayed. This is meant to be replayed, but it's not supposed to consume your life. In fact, you can just get this to the table and play it very quickly. I've already kind of mentioned that. So it's very easy to table. You can get this down, you can play your boss battler, you can fight the boss, and you can pack it up and you can go. And you can feel fine about that. And that's something that I think is almost very unique in this. I just went towards another game that kind of give a similar thing where it's like, it's a boss battler, I can table it and I can play it quickly, and I love that. So very much a pro of Townsfolk Tussle is that. And additionally, like the rule book, it's not so complex that you're looking, that's on page 138, section B, article 2, in the example 3. It's, like none of that stuff, okay? It's literally, you're going to read the rule book and you're going to put it back in the box. You're not even going to have it out. There's no reason. If you have questions, it's on the terrain that I didn't lay out, but it's on the terrain here. Or it's on the card, or it's just known because it's very simple. You're not going to have to constantly relook at rules. You can just sit and play the game. There's no pause and read the rule book. It's amazing. And I love it. At this point, with all the games I have, if I can get it to the table quickly, I'm in love. Almost instantly. It's so nice to not have to bother with the rulebook so much. Now, of course, if you do like those hardcore ones, this might be a little too casual for you. Now, that's a personal opinion. I'm not putting that as a pro and con. Just know that it does play fairly straightforward. I think there's enough there for me to where I still enjoy my time there. There's still decisions to be made, especially around movement. Movement's very important in this. Range is very important in this. And so like there's that. And then of course getting the items and crafting your build and doing stuff like that. But it's definitely not a number cruncher. It's definitely not something that you're like, have AP about or anything like that. You can just play it and have fun with it. But again, if you are one that's like, oh man, I'm all in on a KDM, maybe not for you. Or maybe it offers a nice palate cleanser. I don't know. Now, I couldn't play everything yet. Again, this is an example. This is a prototype, but they do have some long-term unlock systems that look very cool. They involve some reusable stickers at this point now, thanks to stretch goals on the Kickstarter, which again is linked down below. this is a roguelike game. And so you kind of do a run through it. You may not even finish all the way, but you slowly unlock alternate gear for your people, or a new gear to buy, or new locations, and all sorts of other kind of stuff like that. So there's a lot of these long-term unlocks that you can do, which is a lot of fun and a blast, and something I very much like, the kind of like grow when it comes to that. So you do runs better and better and better. And then you can reset it, of course, as well. So very much think those new things look cool. Wasn't able to experience them here. Ultimately, guys, this is a charming and unique and very easy to table boss battler that is in a very nice package at a very nice price, especially compared to a lot of its competitors. And I do highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's just visually alone, it earns a spot on my shelf because it's different. It's not the same thing over and over again. It is so unique in its style and its substance, and its kind of niche of, hey, we want to play a boss battler. We don't have all day to set it up. We don't want to keep it set up forever. We just want to get it to the table. We want to play it. We want to play it with my family. So even my younger kids, you can do that as long as you're okay with a tiny bit of like cartoon violence. Like literally, it's really, really good. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Again, if you like Townsfolk Tussle, you're going to want this. It makes it better. It makes your version better. If you don't have it, this is the version to get. I opened it up with that. I'm going to close with that. Guys, thank you so much. Again, it is linked down below. If you appreciate this video, feel free to subscribe, like the video, share it across the internet to whoever might need it. Again, it is kind of a last minute, last 2 days kind of thing. Go check it out in the description below. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, guys.